And we're back here once again with another episode of the Iron Man podcast, episode 515. This is going to be an episode with Mr. Mike Wheeler. So, if you guys don't actually remember, I did an episode with his wife first because obviously I would get the wife first. Then I had them together on a show, and now I just have him. So I'm basically just keeping it all in the family. That's just how I do it here. And as I've told everybody, you're going to watch all the episodes of the Iron Man podcast in order. You can either follow me on Rumble or click the link in the description box below, where you can watch all the episodes in order from episodes 1 to 499 because we started putting out these episodes on YouTube because the Iron Man podcast has gotten more bigger exposure on YouTube than Rumble, obviously because, well, YouTube is just way bigger. But if you ever feel like you are not able to binge the episodes, don't worry, they're all in order on Rumble. So we'll just start this off right now. Before we can get into like comic book origins and stuff like that, because I usually like to do origins because if you ever come back again, it'd be way easier. That way people just watch this episode and go, okay, that's where he kind of got started from. It feels like you guys are like the white versions of Air July for like the tier 2 indie scene. It's just everyone thinks like you're the worst. Everyone literally thinks like you're the worst thing ever, and you're like a Sith Lord.
Well, they might not be wrong,
even though you haven't done anything besides just make comic books and make money doing it.
Well, it's. I think we have pretty strong opinions about things, and I think that's kind of where people kind of butt heads with us. It really comes from just like a business perspective of how to like run your operations and stuff. I mean, mainly. There's also some of the people that just don't like us just because, and it's like, oh well, I've heard this or I've heard that. So
it's like those.
And most of it, 98% of it is Mike said this to me and I didn't like it. That's 98% of it right there. It's like Mike's mean.
Yeah, it's like
Orange those Man videos. Bad.
Those street videos where like dudes will walk up to random people, like the actual random people we'll talk about in like podcasts and shit. They'll ask them, why don't you like Trump? They'll just say the most brain dead NPC CNN bullshit.
And people mean tweets.
They're like, well, he said something I didn't like on Twitter. I'm like, oh, great. You demonize a whole person because they said something you didn't like on a social media app. Okay, that's the level of intelligence we're dealing with here. Okay.
Right. And that's usually what it is Mike said this and I didn't like it. So, I mean, and who cares? And we kind of make it a point to do that. Mm-hmm. That's kind of been our business model from the start is, I don't give a fuck if you like us or not. We don't. You gotta understand
I'm glad you said that at the start. A lot of people don't get this. A lot of these famous businesses that a lot of people talk about and they still use their services still to this day. We use McDonald's, for example. People know McDonald's is not a good company. They know the food is not good. I mean, it's a subjective thing, right? But the McDonald's knows that and they just don't care. Right. I'm telling people right now, someone who has worked for that company, they don't care. What they do care about is making customer service better. They do genuinely care about like customers in general. But in terms of like, if you like the food as of like something like that, they don't care about that. They do want to make sure customers get what they want, get what they paid for, had a good time at the restaurant. They do care about that. But as far as like, if they went on Twitter and said, I think all McDonald's is dog shit, they wouldn't care about that, let's be honest.
Yeah.
No one does that. Burger King doesn't do that. Starbucks doesn't do that. Like, none of these companies do that, because they know they have you already by the throat and you're going to go use those services no matter what.
I think it's really good to cultivate your audience. That's one of the biggest keys to our success is people know what to expect from us. The people that follow us and buy our stuff, they know what we're about. They're very familiar with the things we do. They're very familiar with the things that we say. So it's not a shock to them. If someone says, "Oh, well, Mike said that this dude's an asshole," or Mike said this online, or Mindy said this about this person, and said people shouldn't, be going around getting abortions all the time or some shit. It's just, it doesn't really matter what it is. The fans that we have are used to the things that we say. And I think that's very important because that makes us not at the behest of the audience. Like, no one can cancel us. Like, you can't come and say, okay, well, they said this, so now we're not going to buy their stuff, and now they're going to have to suffer economically because of a consequence to something that they said or did. People are going to buy our stuff anyway, regardless, no matter what. Our fans anyway, because that's kind of how we cultivated it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, to us, it's been like business day one.
Well, we'll start it there. How was your life growing up then? Before you ever got, did you? Because you were into comics when you were younger, right? You bought them off like a
Oh
spinner
no.
rack, like Larry said.
No, actually, I bought them from a comic shop,
Okay.
and I started collecting when I was probably around, I would say 12 or 13 years old,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
that's kind of when I got into them. It was the early 90s.
Hmm.
Um, that's pretty when that's when I got into them and I started buying them. And like I said,
What
it
What
was
did you
from
especially
a
buy?
shop. I would buy
Like as far as
Witchblade,
characters? Okay, Witchblade.
Witchblade,
Okay.
Darkness,
Hmm.
X-Men, pretty
Hmm.
much anything X-Men.
Hmm.
Um, Batman.
Hmm.
I would collect all of the Batman's Detective Comics, Shadow of the Bat, Legends of the Dark Knight,
Hmm.
the regular
I love that
Batman.
series. Yeah, that
Yeah.
series is great. Legend Dark Knight
Dude,
is
Legends of the
fantastic.
Dark Knight. I was telling Mindy about this. I said
Mhm.
that's probably one of the
So good.
best Batman runs of all.
Just have her read the Hugo Strange part. That's all she
Mhm.
needs to read. Once
Yep.
people read the Hugo Strange part, that story ages so well about
Right.
incels, honestly.
Yeah.
Like an actual incel that literally
Mhm.
obsessed with someone to the point where they had to figure out everything about them. That story
Right.
ages so well. And around that time, it was crazy. You mentioned the 90s because that's when Rob Liefeld popped up with like Image and all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
crazy how like you would probably read his stories on X4. Is it X Factor or X Force?
I only read Uncanny X-Men, X-Men,
Hmm.
and Wolverine. I didn't pick up any of the other ones.
Hmm. That's crazy how like you'll remember him from back then, and then now you guys don't even like each other. That's just so weird, you know?
It's not just that. Like, I mean, we knew each other and we were
Mhm,
friends. Well, at least I thought we were friends.
mhm.
Like, I mean, there's pictures of Rob and I together,
Ooh,
embracing each
man.
other, hugging, and I mean, I've known Rob. I knew Rob for
Mhm.
years before he stabbed
Yeah.
us in the back, and I gave him a shit ton of money, lots of money.
Oof,
So
gosh. After so growing up, you did elementary school, high school, and this is what I wanted to help people understand. Back then in school, because I went to school in technically that back then time period, if you liked nerd stuff, not only did people not talk to you, they actively made sure not to even be around you. You were essentially an outcast. And it's so weird now to have my friend, his nieces, his nephews graduated. I'm like, you watch anime? He was like, yeah, it's like kids in my school like each other. It's like if
I never watched anime. I had
or
nothing to
just
do with
that stuff
anime.
in general, like
Yep.
nerd stuff. It's crazy how
Mhm.
like it went from this is not to be talked about
Well,
versus now it's an accepted thing. That is
well,
so weird.
and see, this is maybe it's growing up in a small town. The town
Yeah.
I grew up in was 8,000 people. Okay, so
What the
like,
hell?
yeah, you couldn't go to the grocery store without running into three people you fucked. So that's just how it was.
Hmm.
But um, it was strange in the fact that the nerd stuff you would say wasn't
Hmm.
really even considered nerd stuff. Um,
Mm.
the nerd stuff was more like being on the debate club or being into like reading books in the library or some like weird fantasy shit. Just strange goth kids. That was kind of like nerd stuff to us. People that were in my school, there were several football players that collected comics just like I did.
Hmm.
Like we weren't. I was a jock in high school. I wasn't a fucking nerd by any
Yeah.
means. I bullied the nerds.
Those
Like,
are the same nerds that are probably running like all these
yeah,
tech firms and social media platforms and stuff now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was a huge jock. I was all state defensive tackle 4 years in a row, man.
Oh shit.
So
Okay. Do
yeah.
you watch like the NFL or anything? You have a
Oh
football
yeah.
team?
Yeah,
Okay. Who's your team?
Broncos, because
Broncos.
our
Okay.
defense was based on the Broncos
Okay.
defense.
So I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure you're pretty mad about how the Broncos has been turning out since
Shanahan,
last year.
dude. Yeah,
Yeah, dude, I love Peyton Manning. I actually think Peyton Manning is a way better player than Tom Brady. He just won less on his resume. He's an actual
yeah.
amazing player. You know,
Well, his brother fucking is really the GOAT. Hell, he beat Brady twice in a row. He's
his
the only
brother
quarterback in the
Eli.
NFL to
Yeah,
do it,
that's legendary. Yeah,
dude.
yeah. It's just crazy how like any franchise, whether it's NFL or any NBA team, they'll be at the peak, and then for literally decades upon decades straight, just mediocre results, no titles, nothing. You know,
Yeah,
I still remember. I know a lot of people bring up the Seahawks Super Bowl. He had to have choked. There's no way anyone could. That's just choking. They're not even
right.
trying to win anymore. They like. I don't know what happened in there. I remember I watched that live and I was like, "Damn, bro, this
I
is."
think
They're not even playing. This is straight up choking.
I think Elway's decisions with the Broncos has impacted them more than anything, and I think he's made a lot of poor choices, and that just goes to show you that quarterbacks don't necessarily make good GMs.
I don't know where people think that. That happens in league a lot too. People think
Yeah,
automatically just because the person was a part of it, that means
right.
they're gonna know how to run like
It's
everything. And it's like,
remember what
no.
happened when
Mhm.
remember what happened when they moved Jordan over to coaching?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
It doesn't always translate into success.
Yeah,
You
because
know?
people have to factor in a player to a coach, at least in the traditional sports sense. Players sometimes can't even voice how they feel emotionally. Like these people are
Right.
throwing temper tantrums, right? I wouldn't really
Yeah.
expect that person to run an
Oh,
entire
and
team.
and no one had a worse attitude than Jordan on the court, except
Yeah,
for like maybe Grant Hill.
he punched somebody because they
Yeah,
didn't
and
want
a
to practice
couple of
hard enough.
people.
Yeah,
A
you can't do
couple
that
of
now.
people.
Could you imagine a world where it's revealed LeBron James punched Anthony Davis on the
Yeah,
court? Like, no, you can't do that now.
it's wild.
So after high school, what did you end up doing? Because people said you did trucking. I actually know truckers in real life. One of my closest friends was their whole
Well, I
family's
didn't
truckers,
get into
honestly.
trucking. I had some stuff going on after high school, and
Mhm.
that stuff, I'm not really gonna get into very much. But after that, um, I got into trucking probably hell. It was after we had our comic book store. I had an IT company after I got out of college, and
How'd that go?
well, I ended up selling it and moving to Arizona, and I made pretty good amount of money from that. And I started up a new web design company out in Arizona, and ended up giving that up and getting into comic books kind of a little bit bigger. That was all the whole time during when we started flipping books pretty hard. And then after that, I got into trucking, but it wasn't until way later in life. Hell, I got into trucking around 2017, the end of 2017, somewhere around there.
Because
And
I know
I did
people in
that
trucking make
until,
good money. I know they do, but
well,
it's the sacrifice of being away from your family that you have to make.
after Trump got in office and kind of fucked
Mhm.
everything up is when everything started going down for trucking. He started that trade war with China, and then
I
economically it was
remember
just,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a mess after that. The farmers ended up losing their ass. Trucking went down, and then Biden continued the downfall. He raised the diesel prices up, so now you're getting hit from three sides, and it was a nightmare. So we ended up getting completely out of that this year, and we do comics full time now.
And then people don't ever really mention this when they're talking to you as you own a comic book shop, like you own an actual brick and mortar building.
Yeah, yeah, in
And this is something
Phoenix.
that it's something that a lot of people don't understand is like going through the process of actually getting your business in a building. People, it's already a huge task in and of
Oh yeah,
itself. Then to actually keep it open for longer than anything, like in a year, because I think the stats are like what business new businesses don't last longer than like what a year or 2 years max. They file for
yeah,
bankruptcy.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
you get factoring, you're already in a niche market like comic books. That's already even harder to
right.
make money in
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And like we've been doing this. We've been back now since what past 2 years now. We came back hard. So
So
and now we've
yeah,
made I probably over 100,000 on Kickstarter so far.
I would say for someone who was a business owner, or at least a comic book shop owner,
Mhm.
is there certain things that you could say that the average person just won't understand? Because a lot of people talk from a comic book shop owner's perspective, even though they'll say stupid things. The number one thing that throws me off is like, why don't they carry more? I know you guys had a different story with the indie thing, but most people
Mhm.
ask like, well, why don't they carry more indie titles? I tell people they can barely sell the things they have now. You know?
Well, The you can make the most money off of the indie titles and the risque
Mhm.
covers. So we carried those almost exclusively. We didn't really carry any or as many mainstream titles as we carried the big ones, but other than that, like if they were like an offshoot, we wouldn't carry them. Um,
Mhm.
we would also go to shows and bring back stuff from the shows, like exclusives and stuff, and we would sell those exclusives in our store for an upped price. Like we'd go to San Diego, you know how they have like the foil exclusives. We'd go and
Oh
we'd
yeah.
spend
Mhm.
probably $2,000-3,000 and buy as many as we could, and then bring them back and then retail them out either on eBay or preferably on our store shelves. We were also doing the signed and graded stuff. We were one of the only stores in Phoenix that offered slabs. Like you could come to our store and you could get signed and graded stuff from the top artists at the time. You know, you get some Rob Liefeld signed stuff. You get some Greg Capullo, Scott Snyder signed stuff. You know, and that we were one of the only shops in Phoenix that offered that. So,
What was the relationship as far as like getting stuff from a distributor?
uh, we were working with Diamond at the time for our comics.
Mhm.
That's the only distributor we used. We didn't carry a bunch of the toys or the
Mhm.
pops or any of that other bullshit.
Mhm.
I didn't want my shop to be that way. I didn't want it to be focused on like pop culture, another toy store you walked
Mhm.
into. I wanted it to be straight comic books.
Mhm. Did are Marvel and DC the biggest uh comic book companies that people assume which is probably making a lot of money? I want people to understand, man. People don't get. You yourself would buy from the distributor, and they themselves get the products from them. People need to understand
Right.
that the person that's giving the product is already getting paid up front. They really don't have realistically don't have to change a damn thing if they don't want to, because they're already getting their guaranteed money. The distributor just have to
Yeah.
offload it to you, and then you have to
But
essentially go like, "Well, fuck it, I don't know.
and,
I might
and
get rid of this stuff."
here's the thing too. Like they're the people that are behind the scenes that are using the distributors are getting fucked. Like, you know,
Yeah,
Larry,
Larry's bragging about bringing in being in Diamond. That
right.
means nothing,
It doesn't.
honestly.
Like he's getting an extra $3,000 a year from the amount of books he's selling, if that. It's nothing. It's garbage. He's making his publisher money, and they're actually making Diamond money. That's who's making the money. Diamond's making the majority of it. It's so dumb. Um, you know, you can. He's like, well, you know, you get recognition on being on the store shelves. Well, you also get recognition from advertising. You know, you can advertise your website on Facebook and get just as much recognition, if not just as much sales that go directly in your pocket instead of someone else's. So I think that's really, I think it's an unnecessary step to have Diamond. We have enough titles right now that we could apply for either Diamond or Lunar and get into it
Mhm,
and start pumping out our stuff too. I
mhm.
refuse because I don't want to give them 60 to 80% of my money.
Right.
I
And
just don't.
that thing that he mentioned, because I know he's mentioned this on Twitter. I blocked him a long time ago. It's not even just after the Eric July stuff. He's just an idiot. I like sometimes as you get older, you just want to
Mhm.
hear less stupid
Mm.
shit that you already know the ins and outs of. So I just blocked him. The only time I really hear his stuff is when I watch your streams. And when he said that, I was like, well, he's like, well, now I can feel like I'm part of the actual industry. It's like you, I don't even know how to quantify how stupid that is like
Yeah.
one of those statements where like it's too stupid to actually talk about because it's just so beyond dumb. He wants to feel like he's a part of the industry to be a part of shops, which would sacrifice him even making much more money than he possibly because he claims he makes a lot of
Right.
money, but he's gonna
No,
sacrifice half
he
of
doesn't.
it to
And,
fucking
and
a
here's
middleman
another thing
essentially.
too. Now,
Mhm.
he's only got two properties. He's got Niobe and he's got that new one that he came out with, Savage Sin, and that's it. And since Birthright, every single Kickstarter he's done has gone down. He hasn't made as much money. It's gone down. And he's the one he's doing right now is a remastered. And I mean, it's got brand new colors, brand new letters, and it's only at $3,000. Like, no one cares about his stuff. Like, if you're a writer and you have the ability to create things, right? Why are you so stuck on just one idea? Why not try other things? How can you get so married and tied up to just one concept?
I think you or Eric talked about it. It's like optics. It's like
Yeah.
the perceived perception. It's like a business when they drop someone that's having controversy. It's the public perception. He wants to be perceived like he's legitimate, being a part of a catalog from a distributor that goes into comic shops. It's perception because I'm pretty sure they've not given him actual stats of his book selling. They don't even do
No, they
that
have.
now. Oh, they
No,
have?
they
Okay.
have. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He can see the reports that they've sent to Antarctic Press
Okay.
based on
Okay.
sales figures and stuff. And he does have the top sales figures for Antarctic Press over the last 2 years.
As hard as that's pretty
Except
easy given the fact that Antarctic Press doesn't have anything.
the only one that beats him is Patriotica.
Antarctic Press. Oh, I know who they are. They were the
Yeah.
company. No, it's Scout Comics. Scout Comics got caught not paying their creatives. Antarctic Press. I don't.
Antarctic Press is ran by Ben Dunn.
Hmm.
Yeah, and Ben Dunn had a campaign on Kickstarter not too long ago that got thrown out for sexualization of a minor. It was Tomorrow Girl, and it's because on his very first Tomorrow Girl campaign, he put in there that she was 16 years old, and then after the campaign got approved, from what I'm gathering, there were some inappropriate images that were added to the campaign. And then I think when he went to go do Tomorrow Girl 2, they went back and they looked at Tomorrow Girl 1 and they said, no, we can't have this kind of stuff on our platform. And then he ended up having to make a whole bunch of changes and saying that, oh, well, she's 18 now, before they would allow him to put that campaign back on there.
That's what happens with a lot of these guys. They think just being in shops just means you're legitimate. And it's like, that's the problem with the comic book industry. There's too many people thinking old school. And certain old school things I imagine work, but I don't understand this perceived legitimacy thing. So I could be in shops, not sell shit, but I can have my own online store, sell a whole bunch of shit, but I'm deemed not legitimate. That doesn't even make sense. That's why in comic book world, I've always figured it in this industry, it's bizarro world. Everything is just reverse. It doesn't make any sense. If you told family members that what happens here in this industry, they would go, why the fuck are you in it? They would just be like, this is not worth it.
I don't think giving 60% of your money to a distributor makes you legitimate. I really don't. I think it makes you a mark.
Especially a middleman. They're just a middleman. Yeah. That's really all they are, you know? Like he's in Canada, so he's their rates and everything are different. I imagine their prices are lower too.
Yeah, but see, he prints here in the United States, so they just mail it from Detroit over to wherever Diamond is.
Jeez, man. Oh my goodness. People just have such horrible ways of looking at things here. You have like that tier system I talked to you guys about. You have all these like weird tier 3, tier 4 guys talking about drama every day, and it's like none of them are in drama themselves. What I've noticed, none of them are in drama. They're talking about other people's drama to try and be in the conversation. They're like, man, there's so much drama in the indie comic scene. It's like, where you scroll through there's nothing here, like nothing they're talking about. They're projecting shit out of thin air. It doesn't exist. They're like, is the drama in the room with you right now? It's so stupid. And then you have some people that are so like sour on the scene. There's this one guy, I forgot his name. He's just so sour on things, and it's like, well, dude, if you're this sour, I'm not saying just leave, but it's like, you might want to change your approach. You might want to change who you're talking to, because it sounds like people keep talking about drama, and they keep saying like, well, I don't want to be in it, but constantly will reference it every day, every tweet, and on every hour.
The thing is about that too is it all comes from other creators. The fans don't bring drama. It's always the creators or your competition that brings the drama. It always comes from another creative person. You don't see fans coming up to you and starting shit. You just don't. It's, oh, well, I own this book and I'm going to tell you what to do about this now, and I know better than you. It's always from someone else in the industry, which is wild to me. It's like, mind your own fucking business. Like, if I wanted your help, I'd ask you for it, but I didn't, so go away.
And then you guys have had there was an incident earlier this year, or was it last year, where Mindy was yelling at a guy at a convention or something like that, and you guys ended up getting thrown out, right?
Oh no, she wasn't yelling at anyone. She was asking the guy why. That was Northwest Indiana Comic
I
Con. That
remember
was
that. Yeah.
back in February, and we went there. Let's see, how did it go? Okay, yeah, this is what happened.
This was
We
your
applied
Facebook
for
post, I remember.
a table there, right? And the guy said that he thought that our content was not appropriate. Some of the books that we had, but we applied for a table there under Comics Illustrated, which was the news magazine, right? We weren't even talking about bringing anything about Divinity Comics, no boobs books, none of that. It was just a news magazine that we were going there for. And he said, well, your content is not appropriate. I don't want you to be at the show. And then he ended up blocking me and didn't say anything else. And I was like, what the hell? Why are you going to block me? And I said, fine, dipshit. You know what I'll do? I will make up 10,000 flyers and I'll go to your show and I will hand them out and say, find me at C2E2. And I said, you can't out dick game me, dumbass. That's what I said. Apparently he saw that tweet or that Facebook post.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care if he did, but he did. So we ended up buying tickets to the show like we're allowed to do, right? Like he said we couldn't have a table. He didn't say we couldn't come, you know. So we bought tickets to the show just like a regular person. And we ended up going to the show. We got some stuff signed from some of the guys that participated in Comics Illustrated that were there. And then on our way out, he comes out and he says, "Are you Mike Wheeler?" I was like, yeah, because he saw us signing Boobs books. You know, Boobs, the comic. And
yeah,
we were sitting there at the front. We were signing them for fans for free. We weren't charging any money. They just, fans recognized us and asked us for our autograph on the books. They took them. Apparently they knew that we were going to show up and they were there at the door waiting for us to sign stuff. So we started signing autographs. And that's when he comes, "Are you Mike Wheeler?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, "You got to get out." And we're like, "Why? What did we do? We bought tickets. You let us in."
What the fuck?
Yeah. And then he calls a cop over. And yeah, then I call the cop a dumbass.
Oh,
and
God.
Then we left. Yeah.
And then after that, earlier this year, because this is a lot of comic book stuff that goes on, you'll never hear about because it's comics. The Comics Gate C2E2 situation. So earlier that day, I got off work and I had seen that. I had seen a post, they were canceled, and I was like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. They should be allowed to be at the event. And then I remember you were explaining to me, and I was
they
like,
weren't canceled.
I should probably just look into this. And I was like, oh, he is right. They actually weren't canceled. They actually legitimately tried to break the rules. And I was like, okay, well, I don't like agreeing with that stuff, but it is true. They can't do that.
I don't know if they tried to break the rules. I wouldn't say that. I would say that they're too dumb to read their contract. That's what I would say. Because they apparently didn't read it, because you can't have three different businesses at one table at a show. It's called subletting. You can't do that. And it's like that for every convention in the United States. Every convention has that clause. That way you can't bring a party of 10 of your friends and share one booth. I mean, it cheats the show out of money. That's why it's there. So, and they found out that they were doing that, and they got told that you can't come to the event. And then John ended up showing up anyway. And you know what? They let him walk around. He walked around.
Yeah, because people have to factor in, at that point, he's not a vendor there doing any business. He's just a regular average person,
Right. Yeah. So
the other thing was so weird was that their whole narrative was that we were getting canceled and all of this stuff. And they're like, they canceled Anna, Star Wars Girl too. And I'm like,
and Ethan's audience, remember how I told you have to cultivate your audience?
Yeah.
Okay. Ethan's done a good job at that. He has all the idiots on his side. All the extreme, uneducated, basically Trump voters, idiots. That's who he's got over there on his side. And you got to feed them red meat. And if you stop feeding them red meat for any period of time, they start to turn on you. So it's consistent red meat drama stream over there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's cultivated, and that's what he has to maintain. And why do you think he turns on so many people? He sat there and he threw War Campaign under the bus. He threw Mike S. Miller under the bus. He threw Doug TenNapel under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
He recently threw Matt Barr under the bus, and they're going at it now. He has to continually take the people that are close to him and sacrifice them like lambs to the audience to keep them happy, to keep them talking about something. That's how they operate.
He's the guy that kind of reminds me of that guy that likes to be on top, but he couldn't do it anywhere else because he just wasn't that kind of guy. But in comics, he could be that because people are really passive when it comes to these kind of things, when it comes to like nerds. So he got to a point where he got really big and he's like, no one can be bigger than me in this space.
See, I don't think he was ever that big. I mean, if you look at his performance in DC, was he involved in one of the most critical storylines in DC Comics? Yes. Was he willingly, by all intents and purposes, by the people involved, a participant? That I'm unsure of. I've talked to Jeff Johns, and I know for a fact Jeff Johns does not like Ethan, and he wrote those stories. Okay, and he doesn't like Ethan. I'm pretty sure because of his work ethic and the fact that he doesn't do things in a timely manner. And if you notice, when he was with DC, he was coming out with stuff pretty consistently, right?
Yeah.
What happened after he left DC?
Oh, Green Lantern books came out pretty consistently.
Right. But what else happened after he left DC? What happened to Cyberfrog after he left DC? How long does it take to come out with a Cyberfrog book?
Okay, so I think Blood Honey came out in 2018 relatively, and then the other book came out in 2021 or 2022.
Okay, so basically every time a kid graduates high school every 4 years or so, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, all right. Why does it take a professional who used to come out with a book on a monthly basis 4 years to come out with a book? I'm going to tell you something, and you might not know this, but you're about to. What's the difference?
Okay, the mega difference generally between an indie, he would consider indie. You have the people in the industry that would take care of all the other middleman stuff. He doesn't know how to take care of the middleman stuff, right?
What middleman stuff?
Okay, lettering, colorist, illustrator, and then you have the editor-in-chief, right?
But Ethan is the illustrator.
You're right. Huh.
What's the difference between working for DC and coming out monthly and working it for yourself coming out every 4 years?
When you're by yourself, you could just do things whenever you want to, right?
No. Ghost layouts.
Okay.
DC has an entire team of people who would do the layouts for each artist. So all the panel work would pretty much already be laid out on the page, and then they would send those pages over to the actual artist, the illustrator, to finish it, to put the finishing touches on it.
Yeah.
So that's what Ethan was. He was the finisher. He was the polisher. When it comes to creating stuff out of his own fucking head, he can't do it.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned when you asked me, when people have to understand, when you're working for companies like that, they have all these people doing those things for you. But when he's by himself and he has to do these things on his own, it'll just take you forever.
But it's beyond that. It shows his lack of skill as an industry professional that he can't do it himself. He always has to have someone else do it for him. There are certain artists that aren't like this. Like you take David Finch, for example. He can just knock it out. Joe Rubenstein, he can just knock it out. But there are some guys that were brought on and they're basically fluffers. That's all they do is sit there and fluff.
They're the towel dryers at the truck stop.
Right.
Right.
And that's what Ethan is. And you're
saying he's a glorified towel dryer.
He was despised by Jeff Johns. I don't know if you know that. There's a reason why Jeff Johns was naming villains after Ethan's kids. That was a thing.
Oh shit. Okay, so
Yeah,
for what I've
so like
read,
there's some
the,
shit. I can tell you a bunch of shit.
the one thing that really always it makes sense why they would get rid of him. People don't understand. Unlike Ethan and a lot of other guys in the indie space that don't want to get things done on time because blah, quality and a lot of gay bullshit.
Right.
Books, the reason why people have to understand, books have to come out on time because shop owners are waiting on the product to give it to the people on their pull list. You
Mhm.
can't be late. I'm trying to say this. You cannot be late. There is no if, ands, ors, or buts. You have to be on time. If he's turning in pages extremely late, that slows down the entire operation. You know, these
Yeah.
things, these books come out, or he was doing what, like Green Lantern and Flash. Okay, that's a monthly
Mhm.
thing. It has to come out on time.
Right.
I would love to shit on DC. I do it all the time, but I can't fault them for that. If someone is consistently late every single day, but they do a good work ethic, that still doesn't mean shit because you're late. You're just slowing down
Mhm.
the process. You
And
know?
see, when he got fired from DC, it was because of his performance issues. He just said, "Oh well, it's my politics," and it can't be his politics because the dude is a fucking glorified leftist.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing conservative about EVS. Dude gets on stage and sings songs about how Wolverine is gay.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, but
there is
I had to
nothing
leave that show when you played
conservative.
that. It's too gay. It was just a
There's
little too
nothing
gay.
conservative about Ethan Van Sciver. There's not. You could even take the rumors from the whole Pizzagate situation. I
Creepy
mean,
van driver. That's what they call him now.
yeah, I mean, it's there is nothing conservative about Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, hang on, I got something even better here. I know I saw it on Mindy's Twitter, which is fucking hilarious.
God. Your wife just always loves going at people. What? Why is she like
Yeah,
just
there
putting
you
her
go.
food on people's
Uh,
throats?
yeah, and you know she should
Good lord.
because screw these people. All right, share that. You're gonna
Oh
tell
god.
me that this guy right here is the conservative voice of the Comics Gate movement. That's what we've got
Gaylord
right
Von
there,
Schluber.
leading Comics Gate. That's the conservative voice in America right now. Get the fuck out of here.
Oh god. Yeah. The ones that always crack me up. Gaylord Von Schluber and Creepy Van Driver.
It's slobber. It makes it funnier, doesn't it? Gaylord
Oh,
von Schlauber.
you know what's also really creepy is that he told this story about, you know, Renee Draws, the girl who does the Phoenix series.
No,
People were mad at her for leaving Comicsgate, but then Ethan told the alleged reason why, and he always lies, so who knows if this is true. He said that the chat voted on whatever, and she had to end up getting up and doing jumping jacks. This is on a Comicsgate King stream where there's a bunch of old guys about Mike Barron's age, like 60, 80. It's like, okay, I have to admit, that's creepy as hell. I would leave too. That's really weird. Okay? He told the story and people went, man, Ethan, you're telling you're that's really creepy. That's the reason why you guys can't get girls. That's weird. It just in any
no,
context, that's weird. Having a girl just get up and start doing jumping jacks, or all these guys that are like 65 years old staring at her, like a 2,000 person chat.
no.
If that's not weird, you people never need to procreate ever in your life. You people are fucking losers. Just saying, that's I leave too. That's fucking weird. That's what comics kid is: women doing jumping jacks and dudes wearing peacock hats.
No. Well,
What is the party?
it's not as weird as what Pan confirmed about having to get into a war campaign. You had to send a hard dick pic to Ethan.
And the Mandy not man fucking hell, Mandy Summers situation when she was
No,
getting off on webcam with one of his artists and stuff. I could feel this for. I don't hate Mandy. I thought what she was doing with Ballers was good, showcasing other smaller indies. I got mad because she just me and Princess Habitat just went over Student of God's initial tweet of her. We didn't even say, hey, you're a bad, we didn't do anything. And she just went blocked and she said, I was talking shit about her artist. Not true. I was just fucking with them. But you know, these people these people in the movement can't take jokes. I don't hate her, but all I
right.
said was, given the way she acts, given the way she talks, I wouldn't put it past her to be that way. That's not me saying she is that. I'm just saying I get a vibe from her that she is this. But apparently, you can't say these things nowadays because you can't talk objectively anymore. She literally looks like she's a cam girl. I'm sorry. I just got that feeling. But I don't know if she is, you know? Like, Shane's even worse. At least with Ethan and Mandy, they kind of like do their own thing, in their own fucked up way. Shane is just a follower. Shane has no clear idea of what he wants to
You know,
do. He's
I
just an
don't even
idiot.
other than my knowledge of like Ethan, I can't tell you anything about any of the rest of them. I really don't know anything about John. I don't know anything
Mm-hmm.
about Shane. I don't follow him. I don't care enough about them. I don't give a
Mm-hmm.
fuck what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And all I know is they listen to Ethan, and that right there just disqualifies you from all rational thought in my eyes. Like I don't even fucking like. I don't have to know anything else. Just you think what Ethan's doing is okay. All right. Well, you're a fucktard. I'm out.
Then there's a situation around his Fearsome campaign and making 100K or whatever. I feel like I
Yeah.
understand. He's not even fulfilled other books. He's promoting other books he hasn't even filled. Like there's Rainbow the Brood, for example. Rainbow the Brood
Yeah,
ain't coming
that's
out.
late as hell.
He
Nah,
wants to get
it'll never
toys
come
on
out.
that. I'll be honest here. I never understood his obsession with toys. First of all, people are only here to get the books. Okay, people barely read them shits when they get the books, and this guy's talking about putting out toys. This guy can barely do one thing
I don't
and get
know.
that on time. It's just not waste of time. What? I'd imagine the difference in toy sales don't make that much difference in his books. Like, and people don't even read Cyber Frog books. He keeps talking about all this quality nonsense, and I try to ask him sometimes: are people actually reading your books, or are they buying them because they like you? Because he said the same thing with Eric. He said the only reason people are supporting Eric is they like him. He would definitely fall in that category. They're not
Oh
who.
yeah.
Can someone tell me what's in
And I believe
Cyberfrog?
that 100%. Like I mean, the writing for Eric July's writing is just not good. It's just not. I mean, just honestly, it's not very good. You can read it and you can hear Eric July's voice in it. Now you can just hear the way he fucking talks in pretty much every sentence. So I mean, I have no doubt that he's actually writing it because it's just that bad. The whole 3D assets thing, I disagree with that. I don't think you should be drawing books from any pre-generated 3D assets or anything like that. I mean, you need to spend the money, get a fucking actual artist that can draw the books. He shouldn't be using AI. I don't think that he does. But I mean, all of that stuff, it's gonna hit at your credibility. He had a lot of missteps from the start, and I think it's just because of his inexperience. I think eventually he's going to turn things around and he's going to end up getting better, and then he's going to have something that's going to be pretty amazing.
I guess you could say
He's just
dropping
got
off
it.
Ethan was a good idea initially.
Well,
Yeah.
and I was the one that warned him about Ethan and got branded a fucking detractor for it by his fucking wife.
You're like, I didn't even do anything. All you said was like, hey,
All I
just be
said is,
careful.
yeah, I said, do you realize he's responsible for removing every conservative voice out of Comicsgate? That's all I said. And they're like, oh, well, you're a detractor. Well, go fuck your mother then, because you're going to find out. And guess what? Motherfucker found out.
Yeah.
I talked to him recently. What was it? Right after that happened, after Eric kicked him to the curb. And I was like, well, did you find out, Eric? And he said, yeah, it was a bad idea. I'm like, yeah, it fucking was, wasn't it?
Well,
I told you.
even Yellow Flash, he revealed the reason why he stopped being friends with Ethan. He said he said one day he woke up, mind blowing epiphany. He was like, "Why am I friends with this guy?"
Yeah,
Might be the funniest shit I think I heard in a while.
yeah.
He just woke up one day and was like, "I don't know why I'm friends with this guy."
Eric has the product and the ideas to do something successful,
Mm-hmm.
and he, if he was smart, I mean, he's made several missteps. The misstep of writing the book himself without any proper editing, the 3D asset thing, and then also bringing on Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon. These fucks haven't come out with anything in over 30 years. And let's not get me wrong. I love Mike Barron. He's a sweet guy. I love Chuck Dixon. He wrote one of my favorite Batman storylines, Nightfall.
Yeah.
But since then, he hasn't done shit. And there's a reason for this. Remember, I told you about the hierarchy. Remember how I was talking to you about ghostwriting? Or not ghostwriting, the ghost illustrators. All right. So the way it works at a publisher for the writing side, a lot of people don't know this. The editors are the ones that come up with the concepts. they pass down to the writers the grunt work of coming up with the actual story. But when it comes to creative concepts, all of that comes from the editors. So once these writers leave these publishers, that's why you look and they're like, oh, well, they haven't done anything good. And no, this all sucks. Because they're not coming up with the concepts. They're actually coming up with the concepts themselves instead of using the editor's concepts that were tried and tested.
So that's why Zeb Wells been terrible on Spider-Man, blaming it on the editor.
There you go.
So you're saying basically
really
CB Sobolski is the reason why a lot of the titles from Marvel suck, essentially.
Chip Zdarsky, is that who you're talking about?
CB Sobolski, he's the editor for Marvel right now.
Oh, I don't know. Like I said, I don't.
Or
you
did you Jim Lee, for example? So you're basically saying Jim Lee comes up with these concepts,
and that's
down.
Well, no, Jim Lee is above the editors. Jim Lee's at the tippy top.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like an editing staff, and they're usually they're editors over 2 to 3 books. Like there'll be an editor over like these 3 titles, and then there's another editor that's over these 3 titles, and then there's a senior managing editor above those guys, and then Jim Lee's up here. That's kind of how it goes.
Well, speaking of Jim Lee, he put out his rates for commissions and all that stuff, and
yeah,
he's charging a lot of money. And I don't know how you feel about that, but I was honestly like, if people got the money to spend on it, let them.
I think it's a pretty fucked up thing to do. If you're going to do it, you know, I would, and see, I come at this from a fan's perspective.
Okay.
I care about my fans. I would never want to price something above someone's affordability. That would make me feel bad. I'm all for limiting it. I'm all for saying, hey, there's only going to be 5 of these, and there's going to be a lottery system, and best of luck. But I wouldn't price something like a fucking art sketch $25,000, which is basically 2 years of some dude's kid's tuition. I wouldn't do that. That's just my personal take. I think it's in bad taste. I don't think he's worth that. If you look at like his resale value and like heritage auctions and stuff, his original comic book pages, and this is published work, right? His published work's going for anywhere between $8,000 to $9,000 a page. That's his recognizable published work. Even his covers are $8,000 to $9,000 a page. So that makes your individual commission rate quite a bit less than that.
Because because a lot of people think, well, he can just charge that because he's Jim Lee, and theoretically, yeah, well, you probably paying for the brand value. But the problem with paying for brand value is if I don't know what it is with him. Is it time? Because he factors in, and maybe if he lowers it to the where you're saying he won't have enough time to fulfill all of those.
It's fucking greed. That's all it is. And he knows that there's some rich ass fucking actors and shit that'll pay that price, and they'll be the ones that get it. And he doesn't care. I would care about my fans a little bit more than that. And I would say, hey, I would want to make at least 2 of these accessible on a lottery system to people that might be able to afford it for a little bit less than that, maybe $1,000 a piece, something like that. You know,
I would say for him, he could charge like, I know Ethan has like what, $4K for a cover. He could charge
that's a production cover. That's something that's going to be published. So that is also higher priced than what your commission rate would be. Your commission rate should be less than your published rate.
Yeah, there's no way the average person is going to afford that. It's just not possible. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's rude to your fans. I think it's in poor taste. And people are like, oh, well, you know, it's Jim Lee. He can charge what he wants. And yeah, he can charge what he wants. He can do what he wants.
I think we can also criticize.
Does that make him any less than a greedy douchebag just because he can do it? I mean,
yeah, I'm not saying he can't charge that. I mean, it's Jim Lee. He has the name value, but
let him.
But my thing with it when I saw it was, I mean, if people want to pay that, let them. I don't really control people to spend their money. I know how hard it is to work. People really care that much to spend it, let them. But but it has to be time. He's probably factoring in, I don't have the time to fulfill all these minor, smaller requests on these lower
Well,
tier
that's why
campaigns
you limit
potentially.
it. You can
Yeah,
still keep it at 6.
yeah, he could just only do like, hey, if you're an indie,
Yeah,
I'll 5 companies, 5K a page, 5K a cover. That's it. Just
yeah,
five. I don't see why that. And let's see, we
it's the
said
same.
five times five, 25K. And 25K just for doing one page cover.
Yeah, I mean, hell,
Easy.
he only makes like I think what 150,000 a year working in his job at DC.
Yeah.
Why are we paying him an entire year's wage for commission work?
Maybe he knows the writing's on the wall. He might be getting paid less now coming
Well,
up.
it is, and you can see that because Superman and Batman are going public domain here pretty soon. They've already announced
2035.
they've already announced massive layoffs at DC and Warner Brothers.
Mhm.
That's already been in the news, and just like I said it would be. I had an inside scoop on this back in January, and I was starting to tell everybody. McFarlane has already been in talks with DC to take over the properties, and pretty soon, all of those franchises, all the superhero stuff through DC is going to be put out through Image, and DC is walking away.
Mm. Well, what's crazy is that David Zaslav is someone that literally acts things because he didn't feel like they would make enough money. That's why I told people when David
Mhm.
Zaslav came in, because a lot of people were like, and I agree with new leadership with that. What this company has always did retarded things with money. One of the most recent ones that everyone just forgot about because it was a long time ago. And if you just weren't around, you would have noticed. Remember when they gave J.J. Abrams $150 million or $100 million to produce stuff, Justice League Dark content, and he did nothing.
Yeah.
This company has always, before David Zaslav Discovery, before him, always been bad with money. Zaslav, I told you he's gonna go in there because he wants to make money. He's a guy that literally acts shit that was done because he didn't feel like it would make enough money. And
Right.
when he goes in there and he goes, guys, this is making us nothing. There will be changes. We know that guys, that Bad Girl movie they said was almost done. It just needs to be edited in post production. He said, nah, scrap the whole thing. Not worth it. A movie that was basically borderline done. He's not going to do it with comics. Comics cost way less to do than an actual full length live action
Well,
feature something.
yeah, but you don't make near as much money off the
Right.
comics.
Right.
That's the thing, and
Unless
the
they're
only
just subsidizing it right now with the Discovery money that they have.
well, again, like I said, you know who gets rich from comics?
But
Diamond.
no, I'll say no one because that's kind of a joke.
Diamond.
Yeah.
Diamond's the one. Diamond and
Yeah.
Lunar. They're the ones getting rich.
Hi, Mindy. I think it's
No
a
one
tax
else.
for the wealthy. No different than the crooked art museums like Hunter Biden. Lady, I haven't been, you think a black guy going to a museum, lady? We going out doing some hood stuff. What the hell? No, I know what you mean. Oh, good lord. But that's the crazy part, man. Is I think the Clownfish TV guy, I forgot his name. He mentioned how there's so much drama in comic books, yet the amount of money you can make is just worth like nothing. It's this much
Well,
drama over.
it also depends on, like I said, if you have a distributor or not. I mean, we're making a substantial amount of money in comics, and we don't have a distributor.
Yeah, you just do it
I'm
all
not
yourself. Yeah.
giving half my money away to someone else, and that's the key. That's really the key.
Oh God, man. Uh, they can't sell anything now at this point. Like Image has turned it around a little bit with Skybound and that Transformers GI Joe line actually, and
No,
it's weird how people are able to fail up that much. So people know now Zeb Wells has been the longtime writer of Amazing Spider-Man since their restart of that back in like 2018, if I'm mistaken. There, guys, pure fact, he's just now getting fired. He has been on this for 50 issues. Okay, so since titles come out monthly, I'm pretty sure we can do the math of how long he's been there. Okay, he has been allowed to essentially tank this character's value to basically nothing. Let's just say that, and he's now just getting removed. This is how incompetent people are. He must have been there because he knew a friend, nepotism, whatever, right? Tom King, allowed to tank characters, then gets to go to another one, tank them. Why does this keep happening?
I
Where
don't
someone is
know.
allowed to just tank a character for this long, and then all of a sudden, when it gets so bad, then okay, they're like, okay, now I gotta get rid of you.
One of my favorite writers is actually
And Tom King's a better writer than Zack Snyder. I was talking about that. And that pisses them off so hard.
I don't know about that. I like Zack Snyder a little bit better.
I'm battling of who the bigger trash is, who has a bigger impact on not good stuff.
James Tynion is probably my favorite writer right now. I think he does really good work. I mean,
Oh, I want to
he
ask you
was
about this.
at one point he was writing like 6 or 7 titles at once.
They do that with Chip Zdarsky and Joshua Williamson. They
Yeah,
put
Chip Zdarsky's another great writer. I love
Yeah,
Chip.
Joshua Williamson announced that he's got to take a break because the good people
Mhm.
that they have, who are mostly like B listers, B plus, they burned them out with too much stuff. Even with what's his name, Jonathan Hickman, who's doing Ultimate Spider-Man, he's doing so much stuff. Like, how do they not burn these people out? Doing that much will just burn
Well,
you out.
some people are really creative and have the ability to write,
Mhm.
and that's if you do, I mean, you can do it. Hell, I could write probably 6, 7 titles concurrently. I mean, I've got so many scripts
Mhm.
just sitting around my house, ready to go. So
What do you think about DC potentially announcing at this year's Comic Con 2024 their Ultimate Universe?
I don't pay attention to mainstream stuff. I don't even
Mm,
care.
mm. Do you think it'll
I haven't, dude.
revitalize the industry?
I haven't read a Marvel or DC or Image book since I was probably 16, 17 years old.
Oh God. Oh God. You just went complete cold turkey.
I'm serious. I haven't read shit. I don't I don't care.
But you've
It's
read
all
Larry stuff
garbage,
because
man.
Larry stuff is greatly written, right?
I have read about 5 pages of Larry's stuff, and it's ridiculous. It's horrible.
Because I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are jealous of you guys making all this money through like Kickstarters and your own
Mhm.
website. Why do you think the average indie artist, like let's say tier 3, tier 4 people, like just starting will be tier 4, tier 3 is like, okay, I've kind of did it once and I'm kind of making so money. Why do you think those people never advance to like where you're at?
I would say concepts. Um, just because you have an idea doesn't mean that you should put it out there. The world right now is full of bad ideas and bad concepts, and it really is. And it's people, it's stuff that no one wants. Um,
Mhm.
Everybody thinks that they're, oh, I've got this story, and when I tell this story, it's going to blow up and it's going to be the best story ever. Everyone's going to love it. And it's just not the case. It's really
It
not.
always starts like that. It
Um,
always starts exactly like that. And then
yeah, yeah. And it's like, I've got this idea for a book. And it's like, well, maybe it should stay an idea.
you know what? Another famous indie author I had on for episode 501, who had very similar success to you, to like you guys.
Yeah.
He said something that I think a lot of people, and you would understand this too, a lot of people don't get. People are making the reason why people's books don't sell. Not could even just for argument's sake. Maybe it's not because the ideas are bad. Maybe it's because they're creating ideas for an audience that isn't either big or doesn't exist. Not the gay stuff. I'm talking about that.
It
It
could
they're writing essentially
it
for an
could be.
audience that also this is not interesting enough in their
Yeah.
concept because there could be titles where like there's just not a big enough audience there to make that a
It's
worthwhile thing, right?
I think, well, it's not just that. Remember how I told you have to cultivate your audience, and that takes
Yeah,
years.
but
That's
you have to
something that
cultivate your audience on something that they want to actually
before
read.
no, not just that. You got to cultivate it on yourself.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that.
And
Yeah.
if you don't have, at least I would say a social media presence of anywhere between 10 to 15,000 people, you probably shouldn't be getting into this
Hmm.
because you're just not at that level yet. You need to be in the building process,
Hmm.
and that's something that we did for years. We traveled around the country, we went to shows, we passed out
Hmm.
business cards, we started selling Mindy's art. People got familiar with her art. She built up a fan base that took 10 fucking years.
Basically, door to
And
door salesman stuff, right?
yeah, it took
Yeah.
10 years of building up a fan base, and then you look over and you see what we've done on our social media stuff, how we start promoting stuff. And I like every post. I mean, my posts right now regularly on Facebook get anywhere between 500 to 600 likes. There's
Mhm.
some that are over 4,000 likes. And,
Mhm.
and I only have 3,600 followers
Mhm.
on my Facebook profile. But it's the concepts, it's the art, it's the style, it's stuff that people can identify with. And I think that's a big thing. If you don't have a project that people can identify with
Mm-hmm.
and that you just think is great, it's not going to translate well. And what you need to do
Mm-hmm.
is take your project outside of your comfort zone. Instead of like letting your mom or your sister or your brother
Oh,
tell
don't
you
talk on the mom.
what a great job you've done, honey. I'm so proud of you. Take it to somebody else who doesn't even fucking know you and say,
Yeah.
hey, give me an honest critique about this,
Mm-hmm.
and then be big enough to accept that critique. I think that's a really good starting point, because most people will read your shit and they'll be like, you know what? I don't fucking like this. I think it's dumb. I don't want
I
to
think
read
that's
this.
I think that's the reason why a lot of the comics that these guys do don't get read. They don't actually think you're good enough to be worthwhile for their time to read your product. That's why they don't get open.
No.
They'll support you from a money standpoint because they like you, but they don't think you're a good enough writer or artist to open the product and actually give it time.
Right. And
Mhm.
like, I mean, everyone talks about the stuff we do, and they open it up and they read it and they're like, "Oh, I really love this part," or "I
I have it on
loved
my
this
pile list.
joke on
I
this
do plan on
page."
reading it. Yeah.
Yeah, or they're like, "I
I think
love
I got it over
this."
here. Oh, it's right here. I found it. It's on my pile list to read. I got it in my, I had it in one of my halls. That's a lot of boobs in that woman. That's a lot of boobs.
But yeah, I mean, they actually like the jokes and they like the concepts, and they like what we do, and they're like, you know what, we're going to support you for it.
Mhm.
And I think that's a very crucial thing for people trying to break into this sphere, is don't skip the building process. Make sure you take time and you cultivate your audience and you build a following before
Yeah.
you try to launch a Kickstarter or a comic book, because you'll have way more traction. You'll see far more success.
Mhm.
And social media ads aren't going to work. They're not going to get you over. You can't buy your way to success. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, I'm going to spend $2,000 on Facebook ads, and then suddenly I'm going to have $100,000 campaign." It just doesn't work that way. If people
Yeah.
don't know who you are and they don't like your stuff and they haven't been introduced to you, they're not going to buy your shit.
Yeah,
It's simple as
because
that.
generally people have to understand in any creative field, whether you're creating videos or comics or anything, it's just really hard to get people interested in your stuff because there's just so much competition. Because
Right.
from the background that I have, which is like YouTube and stuff like that, generally the idea is you want to make content that people are gonna watch. So the
Hmm.
idea is you'd make videos on popular stuff. I don't think comics has that with people. A lot of people do the thing that you said, which is like they think they have an idea and they do it. But what I've always realized is, and that's what the other guy was saying, which is what you were saying too, are people is there an audience that wants that, because if you're doing something for an audience that doesn't want that, then if you don't get any results like you said, well, that's kind of the results you get. If there's no audience for it, then that's the reason why you didn't get anywhere. People are making stuff for audiences that are either way too small or no one cares about those concepts or genres that much.
Yeah, that could be too. Like I saw a book on Kickstarter not too long ago that Filbo put out that was
Mhm.
about some fantasy castle bullshit. It was just totally lame. Like a lizard person and fucking a couple of trolls. It was like a fucked up Lord of the Rings mutant edition. And I was like, man, this is garbage. Why would you even come out with something
That's the
like
thing
that?
in the indie thing too. The reason why no one can improve, because I did many of these one-on-ones with indie creators, so many of them. Every one of them, even on Twitter, I'm not gonna be mean. All of them keep telling each other their stuff is so good. So when everyone keeps telling you your stuff is so
Yeah.
good, nobody can improve. Nobody can. But on the
Right.
other hand, if you give criticism, then they hate you and you're branded just off whatever. Honestly, doesn't matter what.
Right.
So
Yeah. Like,
there is no middle ground.
hell,
There is nothing.
there was this podcast we were going to go on. I think it was
Mhm.
like 2 days ago. And this dude sent us a questionnaire. And the questionnaire was like, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite mythical creature? And I was like, dude, I'm not answering this fucking bullshit. I was like, what does this have to do with the fucking interview? I'm not doing this garbage. And I mean, oh, it went on, dude. And then he gets mad at me when I say, dude, I'm not answering these stupid ass fucking questions. He's like, well, better men than you have answered these fucking questions. And I said, obviously not. Because I'm not gonna answer this stupid shit.
Just tell him your favorite color is Napoleon. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
any fucking person that answered this shit had to be half touched.
What kind of, even if you are sending out questions, at least send out questions that people want to get. Why would you ask someone, what is your
Yeah.
favorite mythical creature? Are you
And
on
he's like,
drugs?
well, it sounds like you're just not up for the quest. And I was like, obviously not.
Sounds like a literal waste of time for that bullshit. Oh god.
Like, oh my god, dude, what's wrong with you? Like,
Yeah, like after all of many years of doing this, I'll be honest with people, I have never actually sent someone pre-sent questions. It's always just been off the fly because I've watched so many podcasts in my life. I could just do it naturally. And I've never ever sent someone pre-questions. Even when someone's asked for it, I just say, hey, this is
well,
what we'll generally be talking about. That's
if
what we're
you're
gonna do.
gonna send questions, at least have it relevant to the fucking interview. Don't ask me what my favorite mythical creature is. You know what the answer to that is? None, because they're not real.
I love unicorns because they don't exist. That's what I tell people. I love unicorns. They don't exist. People love slaying unicorns out there. Oh shit.
There's some weird shit, man. People are fucking weird.
What
The
other,
world would be a better place if it didn't have the people in it.
what other things do you see from the average upcoming indie artists that they make mistakes on? Besides like the concepts and ideas, do you think it's art? Do you think it's editors?
A lot of it. I've had people message me,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean several people message me
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Hey, can you take a look at my Kickstarter?" Or, "Hey, can you take a look at my buddy's Kickstarter because they're not doing so well, and give me your advice."
Mm-hmm.
And then I will take a look at it, and I'm like, "Yeah, this is fucking garbage. You've got art that sucks. You've got, and I've seen it all. I've seen you don't have a good story. You're not telling people about the concept. You don't have any cover selection here. You've only got one or two covers. I had a guy that had a reward of tattoo an ad on my skin for $2,000, and I'm like, what the fuck is that for? I almost wanted to buy it and have it tattooed on there that said I'm a dumb fucking bitch, because I would have.
Yeah, that's what's always thrown me off about campaigns too. These meaningless add-ons that don't matter, like bookmarks, stickers,
The dude
all
was
this
selling
stuff.
a tattoo on his skin. He'd let me tattoo anything he wanted or anything I wanted on his fucking skin for $2,000.
That is crazy. Yeah, and generally what's been in my situation is not that the art is bad. The art's usually the best part about the books because the writing is like CW quality, bad CW quality, like the stuff that is in like those high school teenage shows. The writing is just not that good. Everyone toots their own horn so much they think, oh my god, I'm making a quality product. In reality, I'll be honest with you, dude, they've written stuff as bad as good as Marvel and DC. They don't want to admit that, but that's true. I recently just read Deadpool and Wolverine World War III issue 1. I did a review on it with Professor Savage Dad. That's about as good as most indie stuff is. Just bare line shit. Like writing is basically stuff happens because stuff just happens with no actual purpose for stuff happening. That's literally what their books are. They would never admit that because if they did, they would have to realize, wait a minute, I'm not good. I have to improve. But you can't improve when everyone's already told you your shit doesn't stink. I don't know how people can improve with this level of mindset. It's just not possible. You can't criticize because then you're branded as some hater, drama starter, and you could just be giving your honest opinion. You know, I don't know how anyone can improve at this point. The scene is just going to just stagnate. It's just going to just get to the point where it just flatlines. That's it, honestly.
That's possible. Like I said, I don't really mess with mainstream stuff. I haven't read it in years.
Oh no, I was talking about just indie stuff. That's
yeah, and even the indie stuff. I don't read other people's shit. If I don't have to, I don't. God, I don't want to. Because if I do, I'll have to tell them how much it sucks, and I don't like it. And I'd rather avoid all of that.
Gosh, man. Oh shit. It's just when it comes to comic books, there's so much stuff. There's just
and like I said, I don't want to associate with other creators. Other creators are the bane of my existence. They're the ones that start all the bullshit. I don't want to deal with other people. I don't want to talk to other creative people. I don't want to talk to other artists. I don't want to talk to other writers. If I need you for a job or I'm offering you a cover, I'll talk to you. I'll be nice to you. And then I'll say, hey, after we're done. And then, I'll give you your money. And then that's it. We're not still friends after that. We're not going to hang out, go have
That's
a
what I've
beer.
had with a lot of people too. I kind of like now. I've had 3 groups of people that I did this with. This third group now that you've seen on the shows, these are great people. These are perfect people, honestly. But before that, people would kind of get mad at me because I wouldn't talk as much. Like I was like, I'm not that. I only do this because I like doing this. In my real life, I
Yeah,
don't talk to anybody. I actually just stare at this
yeah,
computer screen for about a good 10 years. I've did this for, and I just kind of do my own thing, and I've had success doing that. Like
yeah.
I don't really want to go around and just be everyone's friend because honestly, doing that is what causes a lot of problems. Being friends with everybody, not
It
everyone.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I've mostly
it
had a
does.
life where I've just mostly been like Wolverine. Probably why I like the character so much. You just do your own thing. You just kind of just if people come in your life, they want to stay, that's good. But if they want to leave, that's great. But it's usually the people that are jealous of whatever you got,
Yeah,
talking shit, and it's just like I want to have less friends. Keep your circle. Let's saying keep your circle smaller, some stuff like that. Is the saying, whatever it is. Keep your inner
yeah,
circle small. That's what I like, honestly. I'm not trying to be everyone's friend. That's the problem with even with Ethan. I'll even give him some leeway in this. That's why he's going at so many people. He attempted to be so many people's friend, or vice versa, that now they just hate each other. You know?
yeah. It's a problem. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, why are you associating with all of these people? I don't understand it.
Like
And
I don't get
like
it.
Larry says, Larry said yesterday, he said, "Well, you're a part of this indie community." And no, dude, there is no fucking community. I don't want to be a part of this fucking community. He
Yeah,
said,
can
"Well,
I
you,"
not be a
he
part of
said,
it?
and he said, "Well, you can't operate without the help of others in this." And are you, who the fuck am I? Like, we came out with Boobs #1, drawn by Mindy, wrote by me, lettered by Mindy, colored by Mindy, and we made $28,000. We didn't have one other cover by any other indie person at all on
Mhm.
that book, and we made 28,000 fucking dollars. So you're telling me I can't do it by myself? I started doing this shit by myself. I've been doing it by myself. I don't want nobody's help. I don't give a fuck about anybody else. Every other creator out there can suck my dick. I don't care.
That guy back. You know how I had that? I told you
You
that
can
bigger
like
channel.
me if you want. You
Remember
can
how I
hate
told you I
me
had
if
that
you want.
that bigger channel? People would tell me that same thing. They were like, "You got to do this and this and this," and I'm like, "I
No.
already have more subscribers than you have viewers on your
Yeah.
channel. I actually have more people watching my stuff than you do. What do I need to
Every
listen to you
single
for?"
every single Kickstarter he's done since Birthright has made less and less money, yet he's the one trying to give me advice about how much I need other people. Everything that I've done since Boobs has gone up.
Okay, that's an interesting saying considering boobs kind of jiggle up and down, but
Yeah.
yeah, so might as well we'll just do this part of the show, and this is maybe a part I can clip out and just throw up for drama views. I'm just kidding, guys. I don't do that honestly. All right,
You
so
can.
let's
I
just
don't care.
start. Let's just start it here. Why have you and Niobe Comics, aka Crackhead Larry, have been going at each other's throats forever? How did this even start? Start from the beginning and get to where you're at now.
I came at him with an idea.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to do basically what Fund My Comic is. It was called Indie Crowdfund, and we were going to involve the shops into it. That's a layer that even Fund My Comic doesn't have yet. But it was my idea. I said, what we need to do is come up with basically a diamond distribution system, but like Kickstarter, where the retailers in the shops could participate in the crowdfunding process. And I approached Larry, and I approached John Della Rose, and I approached Preston Poulter and a bunch of the big indie guys at the time. And I said, hey, put your books on this. Let's see where it goes. And Larry took offense when I was on his stream and his book was on there. And I said, 200 backers, that's pretty fucking cute. Because it's nothing. It means nothing. Your 200 backers are dog shit. You're no one. No one knows your name, dude. Like, when you look at how many issues Batman is selling in a comic shop on a monthly basis, like 15, 20,000 copies, and you look at 200 books that you've sold, in the grand scheme of things, you're not even comparable. No one even knows who the fuck you are. And even now that he's published with Antarctic Press, it's the same thing. Nobody knows who he is. You're not selling that many books. And and I'm saying that goes for me too. You know, it's not a big deal having, you know, anywhere between 2 to 500 backers. That's not a big deal. You're not really making an imprint at that point. You're just there. You're existing. And I said the way to get over that hump is to involve the shops and have them participate in the crowdfunding process too. Offer them the same discount that Diamond would offer them, 50% off, and have them order straight from the crowdfunding site. They got mad that they put their shit up on my site and they weren't making very much money. And yet we had a comic shop in Vegas buy 1,000 copies from us, or commit to buy 1,000 copies. So when that transaction hit, we were at like $12,000 or so on the crowdfunding campaign. And then he was setting it, you know, basically next to nothing. And he thought that we fudged the numbers, that we changed it in the back system, even though there's no way to enter in when you have Stripe processing the data and stuff. There's no way to get back there and like edit like fake transactions and shit, because each transaction has that, what is it, that purchase authorization code or whatever. I mean, I guess you could do it if you put the billing system into like test mode or something. But but if you did put it in test mode, then all of their transactions would stop too. Does that make sense? Because it's only one API. Like you can either have it active or in test mode. There's only two options.
Right.
So even if you were to put it into test mode, when you switched it back, then it would also reflect the more accurate numbers, because they're authorized transactions and there's test transactions. They're two different ones, right? So you can't fudge the numbers. There's no fucking way. And if there is, I don't know how to do it. But yeah, he was thinking about putting it on there. He didn't have it on there, but he saw that we were the only ones making money, and he branded us scammers, and he turned everyone against us that was using the platform, and they all started attacking us. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to deal with it. And I shut the whole site down, and I refunded every transaction that took place. And I invested, I think, $4,000 of my own money in this. And since then, he has been on our ass, calling us scammers, conservatives, right-wing extremists, whatever the fuck he can muster, you know, and I don't know.
And then at some point, it came to a truce.
He wanted to call a truce. He came to us and he said, "Hey, I want to call a truce." And apparently he was lying. He just wanted a break.
I told you that. I knew that wasn't going to work.
But still, I said okay, right? Because I don't have problems with people. And if people want to leave me alone, good, leave me alone. I don't care. You know, I'm not here to fucking start shit with people. I don't care. You know, that's not what I'm here for. And I wasn't the one that broke the truce. I just told him, I sent him an email because he wanted me to come on a show and talk about the whole Brian Polito bullshit, that fucking cease and desist letter he sent. And I said, dude, I don't see any purpose of me coming on your show. And I also don't trust you. I don't think there's any reason for me that would benefit me for coming on your show. And then he fucking flips, right? He straight up fucking flips out and starts attacking us again. And then he says, well, I'm the one that probably started this whole thing with Brian and you. And I tagged Brian and I told him that it was too close to Lady Death. And that's probably why you got the cease and desist. And he's like, the whole time it was me. And I'm like,
it was me, Barry.
So basically you tricked Brian Polito's dumbass into making a dumb fucking decision. And now, because of your dumbass, he is now on the cover of Star Wars. I'm sure that's going to help you very well.
Oh, gosh. So then there's this other situation you were a part of just about a few months ago, actually, kind of find out the whole Star Wars, I don't say lawsuit, that's the wrong terminology. Potential cease and desist letter. How did that come about?
Well, like I just told you, Larry says it was because of him.
Okay, well, that sounds kind of.
I don't know if it was or not, but I know that Brian is a dickhead and he's very litigious. He's done it to other people in the past. Not too long ago, he attacked Melinda's Comics, and he also attacked another creator that was on Kickstarter.
Larry
And
didn't put Niobe on indie crowdfund, though. He was thinking about it. He was saying that other people weren't making money. Yes, correct. We never scammed anybody. Ask Larry for some proof sometimes of his claims. There is none because it didn't happen. It's all in his
yeah,
head. He's like the Dr.
yeah.
Manhattan
Well,
meme.
like I said, we refunded all the transactions.
Yeah.
So
And you
who
have
got
proof of that, I'd
scammed?
imagine. You have proof of
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So who got scammed? Who lost money?
It was basically like a startup company you wanted to do. It didn't work out. Everyone got paid in full back. It's over. Just move on with
You
your
know who
life.
lost money? I did. I put
Yeah.
$4,000 in development into that. I lost money. I got scammed.
What's crazy is because you know Luke Stone now, who's did something similar like that right now with my comic. He's trying to do
Yeah.
different things with it now. You know, I know you don't have any problems with Luke at all. You like Luke,
No.
actually.
Yeah. Luke's a cool guy.
Mhm.
I'm glad it's him doing it and not me. And you know, and he came to me not too long after he started funding my comic, and he's like,
Yeah.
dude, he said, I never understood until now all the shit people were giving you. And I said, yeah. I said, yeah. Once you put a mark on your back,
The
they
same thing
kind
with
of target
YouTube.
you, don't they?
Everyone does. Everyone always tells me. They always come back to
Yeah.
me. Everyone ever like,
And I
hey
told
man,
him
I didn't
too.
know. They're like, I didn't know what YouTube meant until I actually did it. I was like, yep, no one knows until you do it. You don't know. You literally will not know. It's just one of
And
those
I told
things.
Luke, I said, I'm glad it's you and not me, you son of a bitch.
So I'll ask you, since that was originally one of your ideas, now that it's at a point where it's essentially competing with Indiegogo and from like Indiegogo and Kickstarter, because you know a lot of people don't want to go there because of the less exposure. It's just because the other places are bigger. How do you
No.
draw more exposure to it then? Because it's just for comics, right?
Well, Luke really needs to do a better job of reaching across the aisle. He needs to get the people that are on Kickstarter and talk to them
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, while you do a campaign over here, can you launch one on my site too? And then have each one of those people that are on Kickstarter that launch a site over on Fund My Comic, what he should do is pay them a little bit of money, all the top people, and say, hey, I'll give you $500 if you put out a exclusive cover of a Fund My Comic exclusive cover that you can only get over here. And then tell your backers on Kickstarter about it, that, hey, you can only get it over here. And that would draw the people from Kickstarter over to Fund My Comic to where they would make that one purchase. Now, once they make that one purchase, he now has access to all their account information. He has their email, he has their name, he has their phone numbers, and he could generate marketing lists. And that's the direction he should be taking. He also needs to do a little bit more development on his site and build in the automation algorithm that Kickstarter has that will sit there and suggest to backers every 2 to 3 times a day campaigns that they might be interested in that are in the same categories of campaigns that they have previously backed. If he would do that, if he would do those two things, he would have a multi-million-dollar operation on his hands. But I think a lot of it is money, because he's not making very much of it, time, and the development staff. From what I talked to Luke, the code that he is using for that site is not his code. He is leasing that code from a third-party company. And I think that's a dumb move. That would be the first thing I would do, is get out of that. You need your own code that you can control, that someone can't take away from you if they disagree with something you're doing. If you're at a behest to any company, then that's a red flag to me. Because at any point in time, they could say, well, we're canceling your lease to this code, and now you don't have a site anymore.
Because what you mentioned earlier about having that middleman right there, that's another unnecessary middleman. It's just unnecessary.
It is, and it's dumb. While it's a shortcut, and he might be seeing, growth and benefits from it right now, that doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. And until he has his own code, I would say his site is a big risk. I
Mhm.
would say it's a risk to even do business over there.
Because you said you put a
Uh,
campaign over there. I think you put one of them over there. You only
I,
made like
I
500
I've
bucks.
this is the second campaign. I launched Star Wars the exact same time I launched Kickstarter, and
Mhm.
I have made. I'll check it out right now.
Because I think you said when we were on a panel, so you only made like 500 bucks on one of them. And I'm like,
Well,
that's
we're gonna
bad.
look now.
Good lord, man. Oof. Because there's a lot of money things that happen in this industry that a lot of people don't generally talk about. That's why I got to
Yeah,
be the guy to break
here you
it
go. I'll share it with you.
all.
All
No
right,
problem.
present, share screen. All right, this is on Fund My Comic, and we launched it the exact same time. All right, so the very first project I ran on Fund My Comic was the Comics Illustrated Winter Special. That campaign made a grand total of $42.
Jeez, that's
The
horrible.
Star Wars campaign
Mhm.
has made a grand total of $369. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go back over to Kickstarter, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to my projects.
Whores. I'm a big fan of whores. All right.
All right,
Jeez.
so the winter special right here, $4,515 as compared to $48.
Oof.
Okay, and then we have Star Wars,
27K. Oh, well, about to be 28K.
27,000,
Yeah.
27,934.
That is insane.
Then we have 5 days to go on that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, so like G Busters, we made 34,823 when it was done.
Mhm.
582 backers.
Yeah. So essentially, what you're bringing up is there's just not enough of an audience there on Film My Comic at all to sustain any project unless you already have a
Yeah,
pre-built huge audience. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what he needs to do is bring those people over from Kickstarter, and the only way to do that is to have something on your site that they want that they can't get anywhere else.
Oof. Because you know people always talk about alternatives like Rumble and places like that. What they'll have to understand is those places, even in general, just have to grow over time. Like nothing's
They
built in a
do.
day. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people want like an end result of what all of this is initially out the gate, and it's like that's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. And
Right.
since the Fun Comic as an idea, like you said, it's only just for comics. It's not for anything else. Well, that's already a niche in and of itself. And there's a certain amount you're only going to be able to cap out at anyway. And then if it's not as big and there's no exposure and the marketing's not there, like I said before, it just becomes a big risk. I mean, I wanted to work out because Indiegogo and Kickstarter have like those shadow banning practices and all that other shit. I wanted to work out. I do want
Well,
alternatives to work
and
out.
here's another thing too. I don't think Indiegogo has shadow banning going on at all. I think they just have a horrible search algorithm.
Yeah.
I think their search algorithm's broke.
It could be, or it could be people see it and don't care. That's another
I
harsh
don't
reality too.
I don't think it's shadow banning at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is their search algorithm is broke. I think their
Mm-hmm.
website is not working properly. And then people don't care because it's ran by fucking China anyway.
Oh God, jeez. Well, you know, Larry is the best comic book writer of all time, and he definitely is my dad potentially. Just saying.
Yeah.
Larry also even has problems with Tyler too. Draw and talk Tyler. You know,
Yeah, he started going off on Tyler, trashing him, and we
I
EFAP'd
talked to
that
Tyler.
yesterday.
Tyler has a great work ethic. He constantly tries to get stuff done. He makes good money off his campaigns.
Yeah,
His
and
ideas sell. I don't really know.
he's
He'd
doing
be the
he's doing
yeah
parody stuff too, and he's doing
yeah.
really good at it.
He'd be the ideal, or he's like in that same level you guys. You guys are in that like tier 2 system that's just doing the best of tier 2. Like what? To be fair, Larry should be listening to Tyler more than anything else. You know,
Yeah, he should. And you could, like I said, it's a market difference. You can see every campaign that he's done doing less and less money, and that's a bad sign. That means people don't like your shit. That means people don't care, and they're not gonna
do you
fucking read
understand?
your shit.
You know the number one thing, right? The number one comic thing where people understand when it comes to any comic book, even indie, people always check out number ones. But
Mm-hmm.
if that number one does not hit, even when you finally get the book and the people that do read it or whatever, if that doesn't hit, you will not be getting return people for issues 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's just how it is. Like people go, well, my first one did good. No fucking shit. Everyone's first number one does well. This is how that number ones just have that. Why do you think the industry reboots to number ones constantly? They just sell. Number ones just sell a lot. It's just what it
Yep.
is. You know, I don't think these people understand that. If number one doesn't hit for them, they just don't check anything out. It's just what it is. Or maybe no one wants to read. No one wants to. There's not an audience there for your idea. You know. But you can't tell these guys that because everything is still good and the writing's great and it's better than Marvel and DC and they should be getting all the money because reasons.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, last few things I'll ask you, man. Is you got any plans coming up in 2024 outside of Star Wars after that's done?
Oh man, we've got so many books that we're going to be coming out with. We've got Boobs 3, we've got
More boobs?
Barbarian. Yeah, Boobs 3. It's going to
God
be
damn.
awesome. We're going to have Barbarian that's coming out. We've got Dead Sexy, we've got Puppet, we've got Trailer Park Alien. Trailer Park Alien. We have 3 other ones that I'm not even going to talk about yet.
He's
But yeah,
NDA'd
I
on
mean,
those.
and then we're also going to have G Busters 2
Mhm.
coming up. We're going to have Trip Story number 2. We've got episode 5 of Star Horrors that's going to be coming out.
Mhm.
We're going to keep going.
Yeah, I think people got to understand is, hey, if your ideas are not working, try switching them up. Try doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have more than one property.
Mhm.
That's kind of a thing. And even more than 2 properties. You call yourself a writer, fucking write. Right. Do your job. You spent half
I
as
can't
much
write. I
time
can barely read.
if you spent half as much time writing as you do hating on other people, you'd actually have some shit fucking done.
Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Half the stuff they could get done, they don't do because they're terminally online every day, either talking about
Yeah.
Eric, talking about CG, talking about anything else. Literally
Yeah.
I swear, people don't understand this. This is going off 7 days a week, 24 hours, 365 days a year. These people are just obsessed. It's like, dude, you could literally take half that time and do anything else and be way more successful at this.
I don't
But
even
they,
have that much time to come online and talk shit. Like, I mean, my YouTube show yesterday was the first show I did in like a week and a half.
Mhm.
And like this one, I'm back to back, and that's very rare.
Yeah, because we understand. I know some indie creators are doing the thing where they're having like YouTube channels and stuff. The only thing that I've ever said for them to improve on is having conversation. A lot of them can't have conversations because they're just weird introverted people, and it feels very dry. It feels very like you have to really force it out of them. Luckily for me, I've been doing this for so long, I can get that out of people. But shows where it's just nothing and shit, I've just deleted those shows. It's worthless having those up. There was one that was so bad it ended in 5 minutes, and I was like, "Yeah, this is trash. This is straight garbage." That's like they can't. Some of them can't conversate properly. They've never ever thought their thoughts
No.
through ever. And I'm like,
And
damn,
these are the people that are writing the content or coming out with the content that you're supposed to be entertained by, right? And they're not even at all entertaining themselves.
They literally, some of them. I'm showing me. I'm just constructive criticism. Some of them can't conversate properly. I've seen them on not just my own. I feel like I've gotten the best out of them but I can only get that one time. That's only just a 1 hour show I can do. I've seen people on it so they can't conversate. They don't think about they've never thought about their thoughts enough to have proper conversations where you can flow and it feels like an actual thing. And these are people writing your indie comic books, which you claim are better than Marvel and DC stuff.
Yeah.
This is the alternative we have. People who can't even conversate the way out of a paper bag writing your entertainment. Yep, we're in a pretty bad spot now. Yeah, just to say that.
Tippy top of the industry over here.
Oh, like, why don't I get more money on my campaigns? Probably because you can't speak at all. You just it's like what German people do. You're like, hey, what's your favorite color? Red. Why? I like red. Okay. Well, fuck. That sucks. You're like, I'm pulling teeth here. Oh god, it's like dating a black girl. You're always gonna be in some trouble. Just saying.
Yeah.
You have any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular? Anything else you want to say before you head out?
No, not really, man. You can just find us at divinitycomics.com, comicsillustrated.com. You know, we're still doing the indie magazine. It's all online now. Yeah, check out Boobs, Trip Story, G Busters.
Yep. And it's the thing, guys.
All kinds
If
of
you
titles.
ever buy Boobs or any of the titles and you review them, like remember, give a review. It's always good. The business is like that. Just be honest. You know, Mike's someone that if you didn't like it, tell him why. Just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it help you. It would help a lot of people actually review the products they're buying and give their honest thoughts, so people can improve whenever you can. Just that'll go so far, you know. Because like I said before, Mindy might like your stuff, but then again, other people might not.
You know, what's crazy is on all the reviews that we've gotten have been positive. I haven't really gotten anything that's been bad. There was one that we got not too long ago. Some guy said he didn't like the resolution of the Rachel Pizzato cover on Comics Illustrated, but it's a file that she provided and it was 300 DPI, so I don't know what he was talking about.
It must have been he just had to. It's one of those people where they have to find something. They just have to.
I have to see the pores on her skin, or it's.
I have to see every bounce on her to make her worth anything.
You hear some weird stuff. You're in it long enough. You hear some weird stuff.
So what she did is basically just write. She did you wrote like the boys, but for smut essentially. Because people have been saying you guys have been selling smut, and it's like this is parody.
It's not even smut, dude. It's I would say rated R movies have more pornography and stuff in it than ours. Have you ever watched Game of Thrones?
First episode, yeah. And that's
yeah, and you can see like fucking penetration and shit in that, right? Like our books don't come close to that. There's insinuated actions. There's toplessness. There's no penetration at all, and there's no like sexual acts.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know where the whole smut thing's coming from. I guess it's just a way for them to cope and seethe, and they can sit there and they're like, oh well, the reason why he does good is because he sells smut, and then the reason I'm not doing so good is because I've got more morals and I'm honorable and I don't sell smut. But dude, you got to think of it this way: if I'm catering to the lowest common denominator, right? The lowest common denominator, and I am a smut peddler. If my shit, the worst shit out there, supposedly, is selling better than yours, what's that make your shit?
Makes it absolute dog shit. Oh god, I'm telling you this. If my stuff is so bad, but it's doing yours, your stuff must fucking suck.
If I'm catering to the lowest common denominator, and you're catering to the upper class of people, and you're doing worse than me.
Gosh. Hey man, who doesn't love a good pair of boobs and who doesn't love a good pair of ass cheeks? All right, we'll see you guys later. Thank you for checking out this episode of the Iron Man Podcast, and we'll see